Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Welcome to the POMcast on this Wednesday morning. St. Patrick's Day, 3/17. I hope everybody is having a good day, and I hope everybody is remembering to wear green so you won't get pinched, because that would probably be pretty bad, right? Anyway, welcome to the POMcast. I am your host, Stephen Willis. And before we get started today, you can follow us on Twitter at the Stephen Willis, or you can see the show at the Rebel Walk. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast. Catch us on YouTube at positivelyolemiss. YouTube.com, positivelyolemiss. Hit the bell for notifications. You'll always know when we're streaming. You'll always be alerted to that going on. And you can catch us on Twitch at positivelyolemiss. All one word, all lowercase. Give us a follow. Subscribe to YouTube. I think we hit 50 followers on our YouTube channel, which is growing at about a subscriber per day. But the large portion, by the way, of those watching the show are watching through Periscope, where we're averaging 300 to 700 views a day so far. So pretty good numbers for an intro and the partnership with the Rebel Walk. Couldn't be happier about all of that. Last night's instant reaction couldn't happen. We had a technological glitch. Couldn't get connected, so we just kind of punted. I figured with the score and what happened, that probably wouldn't be the worst idea for you. But talking about that game, Louisiana Tech won 13-1. Ole Miss was in danger of being run ruled if that was an option. They had a 10-run lead. I think there's 6, maybe 7. Either way, they were in danger of getting run ruled. That's the whole point. Josh Mallets took the L. 3 consecutive doubles for Louisiana Tech. They built a 3-0 lead, and the game essentially was over at that point. I think Ole Miss ended up with 5 or 6 hits for the game. They didn't hit the ball well, and each pitcher in the first couple of changes really struggled at the beginning of what they needed to do. Whether it was Josh Mallett's giving up 4 doubles or his replacement giving up 3 runs, and they just single, and they started first and third in us. So you look at it as far as extra base hits, Louisiana Tech had 7 extra base hits. We had 2. Kevin Graham actually went 2 for 4, had a decent night. It's going to get lost in the shovel, but I believe he got knocked in for the only run for Ole Miss. Ben Van Cleve handled that. And TJ McCants got another extra base hit. So the important thing to remember about this is that you can't take it with a football mindset. You have to understand that bad things are going to happen during the season. I mean, Ole Miss absolutely got popped in the mouth last night, but it's not the end of the world. You can't string these together to where they're struggling in midweek, because then you're going to have a problem, and you can't let that carry over to the weekend. You have to throw it away pretty quickly. And I think they are in the process of doing just that thing. So we'll see this weekend. Ole Miss plays Auburn, 3-game set, the start of SEC play in Oxford. We'll see how this carries over, if it carries over, because the concerning part to me will be the Sunday loss going straight into the midweek loss if they were to drop a Friday. Because Doug Nikhazy is not slated to pitch this weekend. He's still down. So Gunnar Hoagland will get the ball come Friday, who's leading the nation in strikeouts. So we'll keep an eye on that. Friday is potentially a fairly busy day for Ole Miss sports. That with the NIT, Coach Yo is going to miss a couple of games in the NIT because she came back COVID positive. So we're all thinking of her. Hopefully everything turns out all right there. But Ole Miss is supposed to do quite well in the women's NIT. They're supposed to do quite well in the men's NIT. So pay attention. It's ball games. It's going to be a lot of fun. But in the end of the NIT is not the NCAA tournament. We're not making it the NCAA tournament. But if you play in it, you might as well win it. Otherwise, what's the point of even doing anything at all? If it's all or nothing, that doesn't do anything to build a program. This NIT for the Ole Miss men's basketball team is probably going to be important for players like Austin Crowley, Matthew Morrell, Jarkel Joyner. It's going to be an early build for next season. We appreciate everything that Romello White and Devontae Shuler did. They were fantastic additions to the Ole Miss program, and we're very thankful that they came in. But starting now is about next season. You don't take the NCAA and missing that and go. But you can take the NIT and legitimately get good competition to build for next season. We need some shot makers. Who's going to step up? Matthew Morrell, late in the season, started to show signs of being that guy. He has a chance to take a mighty big step into year two with Deshaun Ruffin, Jarkel Joyner, and we need to find a big. I mean, that's important in the transfer market, find a big. But otherwise, Ole Miss is in a fairly good position. This season, like I said, they got hurt by COVID with the late start. They were the last Power 5 team to start playing basketball. That affected them in the start of conference play. But, you can say and do excuses all you want. The fact of the matter is Vanderbilt and Mississippi State at the end of the year when they were winning, because Ole Miss had to be near perfect, and they almost were, but they lost to Vanderbilt and Mississippi State, and that is probably what cost them the NCAA tournament. Coach Yo, all kinds of build-up, wins over ranked teams, wins over NCAA tournament teams. It's just a shame that she will not be able to coach the first couple of games, and we can see and grow the women's basketball program as well. I mean, they have a chance to really take a step next year with 2 all-freshman team members and an all-SEC player. And so we'll keep an eye on that. But it is still a great developmental moment. The NIT for both the men's and the women's team is all about next year. It doesn't necessarily matter anymore the result of the game. It's about developing for 2022 or 2021-22, whatever. They play a split season both years. But that is the growth 6 months from now, the important part. So we have talked about the baseball game. And like I said, don't fret too much about the baseball game. Don't worry too much about it. And like I said, it becomes a problem if Louisiana Tech gets stacked with a Arkansas State and an Arkansas Little Rock loss or a North Alabama loss. Then it becomes problematic. But one loss in the midweek, especially with the teams that Ole Miss are slated to play in the midweek, it doesn't look too awful horrible. In the weekend, you got Auburn this weekend, you got Alabama next weekend. And the most important part about baseball are winning those games. You need to win both of those series at a minimum. 5 out of 6 would be preferable. If you can get a couple of sweeps, that'd be great too. It hurts not having Doug Nikhazy, obviously. But it should be Gunnar Hoagland, Drew McDaniel, and Derek Diamond. Those should be the starters for this weekend when you go out to Swayze. Also, with the weather that's going through Mississippi and Alabama today, be very careful. Everybody be safe, and keep an eye out to radio and television to know where the storms are. There's a potential for long track tornadoes and all kinds of stuff. So just be very careful while that is going on and be safe, please. When we come back, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we are going to get into the spring prospectus. We're going to start talking about defensive line. And we're not going to go over every player because there's so many of them. We're also going to include like Sam Williams in the buck position in with that group because, he plays, it's a hybrid 4-3, 3-4 defense. And most of the time he's playing the role, whether he's standing up or not, of a rush defensive end. So we're going to talk a little bit about defensive end, and we're going to get ready for spring practice. Spring practice starts Tuesday. We're officially at the point where we can just say Tuesday. And the Grove Bowl is on the 24th. Ole Miss is slated for the last spring game in the whole SEC on the SEC Network Plus. If anybody's interested, by the way, on SEC Plus, this weekend, Saturday, is the Missouri spring game. But the Ole Miss spring game will be on the LSU baseball weekend, Auburn softball weekend, and it has the potential to bring some people to Oxford, especially with all this COVID stuff opening up. I went to Islands of Adventure this weekend. Excuse me. And the thing you notice most of all is how much it is getting back to normal in the parks. As somebody that frequents parks, you know what it's supposed to look like. You know what it's supposed to feel like. And by 1 or 2 o'clock Saturday, it started to feel that way again. You still had to wear a mask, and they have their social distancing and everything requirements in the park. But at Islands of Adventure, most of the queue was, and by queue I mean line, what was in their normal areas and mostly covered. At Hollywood Studios right now, they have a lot of outdoor lines like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. You can get out there and you sit in that sun, and that's real draining. They're not doing the Indiana Jones show at Hollywood Studios. But this will be a part of another video that I'm planning on doing about once or twice a month, based on the parks, based on Florida, based on attractions. So I'm going to do that, and I don't know how much, wherever you are going to care about that, but that'll be available on the Willis Digital Media pages. So the YouTube page and the Willis Digital Media Twitch page. It's a little bit separate. All the Positively Ole Miss is also there, but that's just going to be, it's going to live outside of the Ole Miss realm. And that's the same place we're going to put the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast and anything else that comes in outside of Ole Miss or the SEC. Because we're going to, on the Positively Ole Miss page, we're going to put around the SEC on there. So that's what we're looking at. We're going to take a short break, just a short break. And when we come back, we'll talk a little spring football. Take care. Stick around.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
We spend 6 hours a day in front of a screen.
As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop.
Learn how at active4life.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with good information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA helped him and my mom get the home they'd always wanted. My grandpa's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one of his battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I followed in their footsteps and served with pride. And now that I'm out of the military, the GI Bill's helping me with school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA has served us all.
Welcome back. You can follow us on social media, as you can see below, on Positively Ole Miss on YouTube, at the Stephen Willis on Twitter, and at Positively Ole Miss on Twitch. Twitch is pretty cool. I'm still learning a little bit about it, and and YouTube as well. Everything's got its little idiosyncrasies. Like I said, right now we're kind of dominating what we're doing on Periscope, but I expect that to change, and we're growing by a subscriber or two every day. I want this to be a slow growth, especially when it comes to subscribers on YouTube and on Twitch and things like that. And you can catch it there. Basically, yeah, I want this to be a fine-tuned machine by football season. It's very important to me that this is up and running and the way it's supposed to be during football season. As it stands now, it's getting there. I mean, it's gradually moving that direction. But it'll never be like perfect within a month or 2 months or 3 months. I think this is going to be a project where you're chasing perfection way down the road. And that's fine. But from the palatial Central Florida studios, we're going to continue our spring football prospectus. And we're going to concentrate today on the defensive line. The defensive line. Most important in that group will be Sam Williams, because he's the senior leader. He's probably the leader of that defense, and he has all the athletic ability in the world. He can play as a rush-in. He can cover. He's running a 4.4, 4.5, 40. I mean, he's a legit player. He's manning the buck position currently, and I know some people might say that needs to be put with the linebackers, but I'm going to put it down as a rush-in type thing. Also, the kid from Canada, Tavian something. I'm sorry. I apologize for forgetting your name. It's kind of a brain surgery moment for me. Every now and then it happens. This is a big spring for him. Him coming in right before the season and being thrust in the lineup and kind of a baptism by fire in SEC football. This spring will be huge for him to hone his craft. I know he played a little bit inside last year with Ryder Anderson. There was a lot of times when we had all defensive ends out on the field last year. Last year's defensive line was a severe low point, and that is strictly because the miss of the 2019 class. And we did so well in the 2019 class, and I don't want to hear anybody claim otherwise, but where we missed was at the defensive line position. There were several defensive linemen like Byron Young, the kid that went to Auburn. I mean, they just moved all over the place. They signed all around our neighbors. Mississippi State got Nathan Pickering. We ended up in that class getting players like Brandon Mack and all that, but there were players inside the state. And where our loss was, and where Mississippi was so special in that class, was on the defensive line. Remember, on signing day in February, Ole Miss lost Nakobe Dean at linebacker. Those were the misses that took that class from being very good to that would have pushed it to elite. As you can see, our class, our 2019 class, was all over the field performing. Jerry Neely, John Rice Plumlee, Jonathan Mingo, basically the whole offensive line. On defensive back AJ Finley. It is a big class. It is an important class, and it is why we were able to turn this around so quickly. That class needs to get the credit it deserves and is warranted. So nobody needs to make fun of the Mississippi-made class, because there's so many people who like to do that. Whenever you make fun of that class and that slogan, you're making fun of what they're doing. And there's no need for that to happen, because that class has saved us. Because 2017 and 2018, minus Elijah Moore and Matt Corral for 2018, they just kind of weren't there. The dudes weren't there. And then 2019 comes around, and as a bunch of freshmen on the field, they get a lot of SEC time under Rich Rod and Matt Luke and all that. Then Lane Kiffin comes in and inherits their sophomore year. And he gets the benefit of their experience and their talent. And now they're going to be juniors. And the first main Lane Kiffin class is coming in. That includes like defensive linemen for days. Isaiah Iton, Jamon Gordon, two defensive linemen that are designed to fit in the middle. You don't necessarily see them as a 3 technique and a nose guard, or a nose and a 5 technique, depending on whichever they go. But they're versatile enough to play both. Then you have Tywan Malone. And Tywan Malone is a guy that should flash in year one. He's that good. He should absolutely flash in year one. But he should be starting in year two. It's expected for Isaiah Iton and Jamon Gordon, those to be the interior starters on defense, joining with T. Tisdale and Quentin Bivens and the crew. But if there's a slowness, there is no hesitancy to play young guys with these guys. Lane Kiffin is all about the young guys. It's something he learned from Pete Carroll. If you can play, if you can help us, you need to be on the field. So, playing baseball, the reason I say that, Tywan Malone is going to play baseball in the spring and will get here in the summer. So he has very little time to pick things up. So it's going to be a slow growth throughout the season. I expect him to be better at the end than in the beginning. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But the same thing goes with Isaiah Iton and Jamon Gordon. Basically, this is set up on defense with Dink Jackson. We're going to go down that list as well. And the secondary, Tasheem Johnson is one of my favorite players in this class. Might be the favorite player in this class. You can catch him on Huddle. You can catch Tywan Malone video on Huddle. And you can see what's coming in. I think Isaiah Iton and Jamon Gordon's on there as well. So utilize Huddle for videos and make up your own mind. Now, everybody's going to look at everything and say, well, this is a flash reel. This is a sizzle reel. This should all look good. Well, yes. But there's certain things that you're going to be able to tell. Now, I've cut video. I probably have a decade's worth of video for me to draw back to. I know what I'm looking at. So I understand whenever I tell you to make up your own mind, you're not coming from really the same place as me. I understand that. But you can see most of those guys. I'll put it like this. Whenever I would cover high school sports back in the day, the first thing I'd look at, I would go out and shoot without even picking up a program or even knowing who I was supposed to shoot. And then you can make a reaction based off, is this player the best player on the field? Because Ole Miss should be signing a high school or JUCO player that is the best player on the field, period. That should be their goal. If they're not, it's one of those situations where you're signing based off potential, and there's that saying, your potential is going to get me fired. But if they're the best player on the field, which they usually are, they're going to stand out. And you're going to be able to see things like, how many steps does it take them to run 5 yards? Because most of them, if you can run 5 yards in 2 steps, You're athletic enough to perform in this letter. Look at their ankles. You're not going to see a very athletic person with cankles. You need to see thin ankles. Stuff like that. You need to see how they catch the ball, how they come out of breaks. Now, you don't want a 100% polished guy. You want a guy you can coach up and make better. Or else, that's the problem with Texas high school football, by the way, is you come to college as a 90% finished product as opposed to a kid from Mississippi that's going to Ole Miss or State at a 50% finished product. It helps if you can mold the clay a little bit. But guys in Texas are so well coached in high school and they do so many things really well that really isn't the case. But on the defensive line at Ole Miss, it's a huge spring practice for Isaiah Iton and Jamon Gordon. Period. It is actually I'm not 100% sure they're there, but I think they are. And this fall camp is going to be crazy big for Taiwan Malone, and that goes with Sam Williams, T. Tisdale, and the people that are leaders already in that room. There's going to be a little bit of a fight for the new alpha. Who is the guy that's going to be in control? Who is the guy that's going to run stuff? Who is the Pere Jerry of this group? Because that guy exists. And think back to 2 years ago when Ole Miss was tough on the defensive line, when Mike McIntyre was calling shots. Benito Jones, Josiah Coatney. There's no doubt who was running that room. So we also have to see who's going to run that room. Who's going to be the guy? Who's going to step up? And that is the stuff that spring practice is important for. It's about knowing your role, finding your place. That's the most important thing about spring practice. Don't hit it from a team perspective. Don't hit it from 11-on-11 perspective. Hit it from an individual player perspective. And then whenever you get to fall camp, you can bring that together and form a cohesive unit. But that is all very important. I'm sorry about my rant. I'm very much on the, I don't want to say don't listen to opinions. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying trust your own more than theirs. Theirs should supplement yours, not influence yours. That's the point. Because you're all smart. You've all watched a lot of Ole Miss football. You know what's good. You know what's bad. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that last year we had a kicking problem. I mean, you know what you see. You trust your eyes. You don't need somebody to come and tell you that, oh, we don't have a kicking problem from 32 yards. Trust your eyes. Trust your own ability. Trust your own fanhood. Have fun with it. If you do that, everything will open up and more fun will be able to be had. If you are relying on the opinion of others, it's kind of a hard road. You're at their mercy. They control your fun. But that's the defensive line. Tomorrow we will do linebackers. Friday we'll do DBs. Spring practice in less than a week away. We're probably going to give you a couple minutes back. Yes. I want to thank everybody for watching. And of course, hotty toddy.